Hello, this is Judy Klich, and I am going to show you a demonstration today of doing a photo transfer using black and white laser copy. The first thing you want to do is make sure that your surface is very smooth and doesn't have a lot of bubbles in it. And I like to use the Iwatani torch because I find it really helps smooth out the surface and pop those air bubbles that keep coming up through the wood the best. A heat gun works great too. It's just a matter of preference, and you really have to just work with both of them to learn which one you like the most. I tend to not be as patient, so the heat gun, being that it's hotter, is much faster for me. So you want to get your surface good and smooth. You can see I'm having to really work out some bubbles in there. But you also want to make sure that your surface is going to be nice and warm for your photo transfer. It can't be super hot, but it also can't be cool. And that one is going to be really good and hot. And it's almost impossible to get it exactly perfect, smooth. So I tell my students, you just can't try for 100%. There's always ways to fix it. Just to show you, this is the torch that I'm using, Iwatani, and then it has butane cartridge that goes with it. You can get these cartridges anywhere, like restaurant supply stores, camping stores, even Sam's Club carries them for about $2.50 a can. The torch head, you have to order that online. I found mine on Amazon. So what I'm going to be transferring is, it's a picture that I took of ferns, and I've actually gone in and played with it in Photoshop to bump up the contrast, and then printed it out and made a copy of it on a regular laser copier, because what we're going to be transferring is the toner, the black part. Wherever the white is, you're going to see the background, and you'll see your wax. So this is fairly hot to the touch, but I'll just start out buffing gently. You just don't want to dive in and start with heavy pressure when it's warm. And I use this is a burnishing tool. It's called a bone folder, and you want to clean off any wax that's on it. And I like to use kind of this flatter edge that's right along here. You can see that part there, rather than the tip or straight up down on the side. I kind of always turn it so I have sort of a 45-degree angle. And I start from the center, and I'll usually just kind of press it out with the flat edge first. You'll notice the heat from the wax will sometimes make the paper buckle a little. And then when just using that edge that I talked about, I'll start rubbing it back and forth. And as it cools off, I can apply more and more pressure. But you see I kind of started at the center and just worked my way out to the sides. If you have something that goes all the way to the edge, you can put a piece of tracing or paper or wax paper down and hit that edge, just to make sure you get that edge so we're good on both sides. And the other thing we want to make sure of is that you get the outer edges as well. A lot of people forget to really hit those edges, and then there's always, you can really tell when you didn't quite get the edge, especially if you have an image that has a lot of black in it. Anywhere there's any image has a lot of black, you want to really work the darker areas a lot. And I always get asked, how can you tell when you're done? And I kind of joke, it's when your hand hurts. You can see I've got, my finger has a press in it there from the pressure. So I'm really pressing hard, and it does kind of work your arm good. So just keep going over it. And I'm kind of rubbing pretty fast. You can go a lot slower than I'm doing. Just trying to make sure I speed it up for the video. But this is the one part you can never do long enough. Just, you can't do, it's not able to do a do-over. If you mess it up and it doesn't transfer well, you'll have to scrape it all up and start again. But then again, that's the beauty of Encaustic, is you really can't ever really truly mess up. And then I just have a regular squirt bottle, and so I'll start squirting water on it. and I just go in sections. If you squirted the whole area, the paper would start to disintegrate before you could burnish it a second time. The second burnishing is extremely important. This is the part where you want the image to come through, but then you can see where the image is, and this part makes the paper release from the toner. The first burnishing gets the toner to really adhere to the wax, and then this has the paper release. So if you forget this part and you start rubbing the paper up, a lot of times you'll pull the image right up too. It's never completely burnished until you do it the second time. And so you see, I don't do the whole thing at once. I usually kind of just always do it in sections. And I'm really kind of rubbing a lot with that flat part. You can see I've got a wide stroke, not the point. Although you can rub with that, that tends to be a little rough on the paper and tear the paper up. But you want to make sure you get all the spots that have the white paper showing through. This is truly one of my favorite things about Encaustic. I've always had a love of photography, and I really like to take my photography and abstract it to the simplest form, simplify it. This one actually inverted the light and the dark to make it more interesting. That's just all part of it. So once you've got that burnished on there, you can really start to just pull the paper up. And you can see it's got 2 layers. So once you start getting that first layer up, you can make a wad like this. I taught a bunch of kids once, or actually demonstrated for a bunch of kids, and they called it a spit wad. And it's like, yeah, it kind of is like a spit wad. The other fun thing they said was it's kind of like one of those tattoos, you know, the ones you put on your hand and wet it from behind and count and then pull it up. It's somewhat similar to that. Kids can be so funny. So if it doesn't transfer completely because you didn't have a perfectly smooth surface and you had some air bubbles in there, that's quite all right. The black part is so easy to fix. It doesn't always have to transfer perfect. It's always kind of interesting, and you know, might abstract it even a little bit more. Let's get a little closer here. You can see it. So, to get all this paper off, you really just have to keep rubbing. And ladies, watch your fingernails because it's easy at this point to kind of scratch the surface. Sorry, the camera's shaking. You can tell I kind of am rubbing the table a lot. So, to see the finished product, you'll have to go to my website, or maybe I'll post it here soon on Facebook. But to learn this technique and many others to use with photography, and also how to make repairs when your transfer doesn't go perfect, you'll have to come take one of my classes. So go to my website at www.judyklich.com, JUDYKLICH.com, and look what classes I've got coming up. Hope to see you soon in my studio. Thank you.